and welcome to a special edition of the SEANC View podcast, year-end edition. I'm Jonathan Owens, the Communications Director here at SEANC, here with Suzanne Beasley, our Government Relations Director, Ardis Watkins, our Executive Director, and Sam Cline, our Digital Communications Specialist. I changed it up a little bit there. I saw Suzanne first out of my corner of my eye.
So
you're
everybody.
first this week. Hello, everyone. This is the last week of 2024. I thought we'd take a little look back at what happened this year. I did spend 8 years at newspapers, and let me tell you, the worst time to work, well, not the worst, but one of the worst times to work at the newspaper are the last 2 weeks of the year when nothing's happening and you have to be in the newsroom by yourself and you have to write all the year in review stories. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to plow through the biggest stories from the last year and talk about kind of what happened and the outcome and where they stand. Wanted to do this kind of in chronological order, so we're not making any statement on whether this is the biggest story of the year. I think you'll know what the biggest story of the year is, listeners, but we'll let you judge that yourself. Not that anything didn't happen for the first 3 months of the year, but on the 5 stories that I found that I wanted to talk about, the first one in chronological order is around March and April when the state health plan ended its coverage of GLP-1 drugs for weight loss. That was a huge story, kind of launched our podcasting careers. Our first episode was on that topic. We were able to get some celebrities involved in that. Well, not celebrities, but important people onto our podcast to talk about it. We even got CVS.
CVS Caremark, yeah.
Yeah, an executive from there to talk to us about what the deal was and how prices are set and things like that. So what are your thoughts on that story?
Was kind of interesting. A lot of our members had no idea. They'd never heard of the acronym PBM, Pharmacy Benefit Manager, or what they do.
Yeah.
Being the kind of the middle person between the health plan and their prescriptions. Yeah.
And was it April 1st? They ended that coverage entirely?
I thought it was the 30th of April.
I was going to say, I think it was the end of April that the weight loss drugs were no longer covered. Maybe. Well,
either that or that's something they were talking about.
It was in
the
April,
state health plan. Yeah.
So we're still hearing from members who are upset or have opinions on that decision, especially since Medicaid is now covering that for folks in North Carolina. So folks, our members are saying, well, how can someone on Medicaid get this drug and I can't?
Because Medicaid obviously is
a federal program.
No, it's state.
Oh, okay.
So it's run, there's state employees administering the program. And that was kind of the argument, like, we're going to have state employees administering a program to give medication to folks that they can't get. But the rationale of the board of trustees of the health plan was, look, we can't do it. We don't have enough money in the health plan. And in fact, the health plan's going to be $1.7 billion short by the year 2027 in terms of money just to keep on going, and without shifting a bunch of costs to the members. That being said, there would have been an immediate doubling of premiums according to the health plan if they kept covering these weight loss drugs out of the sheer cost of them.
I thought it was interesting that decision wasn't a larger part of the treasurer's race in November. And I thought that, one candidate would take a stance that we had to provide these drugs and really make an issue about it, but they didn't.
I think they realized if they had done that, they would have saddled themselves with an even more monumental problem. And no matter who won that race for treasurer, as far as the health plan goes, they were going to adopt, by sheer virtue of winning, a massive issue with the health plan.
Yeah.
Because it's not sustainable the way we do it now. And the reason SEANC says it's not sustainable is this secrecy we talked about on the last podcast, and the secrecy that's making the whole country mad, that big corporate healthcare is making tons of money and not sharing what their actual prices are. So it's the only place, as Treasurer Falwell always said, where we go and purchase something and have no idea what we're getting ready to pay.
That's right.
And that's kind of insane, healthcare.
So do you see any changes coming in the coming year about that policy? I don't really think I do.
Covering
GLP-1
the GLP-1s?
drugs.
I don't think anytime soon.
I think about healthcare generally, we will.
Yeah, but as far as that specific prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was our 5th story, or first story in our chronological order. In May, I think I have it here. the beginning part of May. It may have been the last part of April. We had the murder of 4 law enforcement officers in Charlotte, 2 of which were state employees and members of the Special Operations and Intelligence Unit from the Department of Adult Correction, Sam Peloche and Alden Elliott. That was a huge deal, a very sad,
Incredibly tragic.
tragic event. I remember, I think it happened on a Saturday, and you had called me that night because we had to put some statements out about it. And it was just kind of, was it Saturday or Friday? It was a weekend.
gosh, I
can't remember exactly, but
This attack at Bertie recently was on a Saturday, but I don't remember that one being on a Saturday, but it was
quite a tragedy. I think those,
it was a huge tragedy in Charlotte.
they were serving a warrant on a person in East Charlotte, and I guess gunfire just kind of erupted and everyone.
They were waiting on them. It seemed
Oh,
like,
really?
I mean, they were up in the windows upstairs and seemed pretty clear that they were kind of ambushed.
Yeah.
Oh, I was completely wrong. It was on a Monday. So,
The opposite end of a weekend.
yes.
Yeah. Horribly tragic.
Yeah. So that was a big story.
Yeah, we talked about that a little after in terms of that unit and the work they do. And it brought to light, among other things, that the equipment they have to work with is not able to sustain the impact of certain kinds of ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody's using one of those long rifles and they've,
Right.
there's grades of vests you can get and the grades of vests they had on.
Yeah.
And that's routine. And that's one of the places we need to spend money. It's routine that they're using to go out and do these really dangerous jobs. And this attack highlighted how dangerous these jobs are. You go there and you've got a vest on that may or may not protect you, depending on the weapon people might have and the people in the house you're going to. And you have to go to houses in that job.
Mm-hmm.
May or may not be waiting for you with a gun when you get there. It's incredibly dangerous work.
And was it the leader of that unit? He reached out to you and with a letter that was very rewarding for us that we were able to bring.
Yeah, we have to bring in 2025, y'all. It's time to bring even more attention to the work of folks in that unit, to everyone working in any of our community corrections type jobs, as well as our correctional facilities. This is work that is far from over.
Which that brings me to the third story on my list here. The legislature fails to pass an amended budget with raises.
No expansion budget.
No
So state employees got 7% over the 2 years. They got 4% in the first year and 3% this year. There was nothing in the year 2 for retirees. And unfortunately, and necessary focus had to be directed to storm relief and recovery. So didn't get back to the issues that were already there before the storm hit.
I think at the beginning of the session, we were optimistic because there was a large surplus.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was up to like $1.4 billion, and then it was kind of revised down.
And a
at
lot
some
of that
point.
surplus came from the jobs being vacant.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ironically.
literally, these folks are working understaffed. So whether they're in a prison like Bertie, where the officer was stabbed with a broomstick over the weekend, or if they're out there trying to rebuild every single bridge in the West after a hurricane, they're doing it way understaffed. And then what's done with that money that should have gone to staff? It went into this surplus, and then the surplus did not come back in terms of bonuses or anything that might keep the people. So it's a terrible cycle we're in.
Yeah. So this will be another story next year when we try to get a budget again, right?
Indeed.
So the fourth story on my list is I'm kind of debating whether to use it last, or I think it's the biggest story of the year, but it would be chronologically the fourth story. Hurricane Helene's impact on Western North Carolina. I guess it's ongoing, so I would think that's the biggest story of the year.
Oh, you mean chronologically as when it hit in the year. Okay.
Yeah. So, that just, what else is there to say about that? $60 billion worth of damage, lots and lots of lives destroyed. But do we have death toll? Yeah, I think it's
103 was.
Okay.
But then there's still a couple hundred missing, I think.
Yeah, they don't, you can't include them in the death toll until you find them and identify them. So, but I believe Representative Prather said on the floor yesterday that the 103 was the death toll.
So I haven't been to Western North Carolina since then. I think Sam has.
I have.
What's it like?
Where I went to visit WCU. By that point, they were seemed to be pretty much back to normal at the university and at that small area in Jackson County. However, when you're driving up there, it's not like when you drive to the beach after a hurricane. You can see the devastation from the interstate. You see where landslides took out parts of the road, and they had already rebuilt some of those parts, but you saw where houses were destroyed, where the river had moved and completely adjusted, and how high the water had gotten in the river, because you would see how low it is and you're like, that's really low right now, but you can see the top where it had gotten to, and just driving through, you could see how devastated they were just from the interstate.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked a lot about that.
Again, that'll be one that
I think that would be number one.
It'll be addressed for years.
Yeah. We were fortunate enough to have members who stepped up and donated to our relief efforts, and lots of members in Western North Carolina who took up for each other and looked after each other during the whole recovery that's still ongoing.
But there were some beautiful things in terms of the way people took care of each other, and those communities really showed how tight-knit they are, because they are. But there was also some ugly stuff.
Definitely.
There was people who took advantage of it. There was tons of disinformation. We had legislators calling that out, who were from the West, saying this is absolutely not true. We're here. We're on the ground, and we can tell you it's not true. We even had a gubernatorial candidate go so far as to say Florida was going to rebuild North Carolina's roads. We'll never get over that. But Senate will never get over that statement, because let me tell you something. Talk about a slap in the face to the people who were pulling bodies out of debris and trying to put roads back together so people could put lives back together and so that people could be saved. It was devastating enough, but then for it to get politically used the way it did was gross.
I was going to say it probably would not have happened. I mean, I can't say that. I mean, you never know these days, but if our last story wasn't happening, which is the election, if that was not going on, I wonder if there would have been as many complaints like that. But the election was in November, early November, and not that the world has stopped since, but that's probably the last big news story of the year for us, so far at least. What are your thoughts? We have a new governor coming in. We have
new attorney general.
Did the Council of State change a lot? I guess it did. We have a new
auditor.
Treasurer.
Yeah.
I mean,
public instruction.
It's going to be interesting. Again.
Labor commissioner?
Yeah.
We talked about how the treasurer is going to be, and Brad Briner won that race. Treasurer-elect Briner is going to be looking immediately at massive problems. He's going to be looking at the health plan issues still needing to be fixed, again, mainly because there's no transparency. So according to the little bit we do know from actuaries, we're probably wildly overpaying for the services for the members. But then he's also got issues with the retirement system. Retirees do expect a COLA. The system was built to be able to provide those, so you didn't have to go to legislature, Suzanne, with your staff and beg for money from the general fund. And that's another case where we don't know what we're being charged to this day for those contracts with investment managers. So Wall Street is kind of known around the country for having it's like a sandbox for them to get into these public pension plans and have layers of costs for them to do the business of making your investments. So he's got that ahead of him. Governor-elect Stein has a lot ahead of him as well. I think when, again, going back to, because this Bertie thing is weighing heavily on our minds, because, again, people have been saying this is coming for a while. And I think that's one of the first things he's going to have on his plate as a governor. Ironically, it was one of the first things Governor Cooper had on his plate, because the year that Bertie and Pasquotang murders happened was Governor Cooper's first year as governor. So Governor-elect Stein has a lot of decisions about leadership of the agencies and about policy of these agencies that he's going to have to, it's a lot on him, obviously, and he knew that going in, and then with these other roles changing so much, with the legislature changing some of the duties, I think everybody will have to settle into all that, the new roles.
Yeah, and the legislature, the House will no longer have a supermajority. Yeah. Theoretically, I guess. I mean, in practice, they may have.
I mean, technically, they don't. Will somebody flip and become a Republican? Maybe. Who knows? But will they have a functional majority even if somebody doesn't flip on paper? Maybe. I don't know. I think at the federal and state level, we've talked about it. If folks don't start to work together, you're going to see more of the dissatisfaction that the public is expressing on issues that affect their everyday life.
It's very unsettling.
It is.
Yeah.
And we'll have a new president and all that entails, including probably lots of cuts, which you've mentioned will probably be pushed to the states.
Yeah, I mean, a
Lots of
lot of
calls.
the things that we've had public statements from people who are either rumored to be or have been tapped, subject to congressional approval, to be leaders in the Trump administration, have expressed things that would end up, if you cut them, necessitating increased costs at the state and even the local level. So how that would play out is going to be very interesting.
Destroy some programs.
Well, that's my list, but that leads directly into my question of the week.
John's wacky weird question of the week.
What are you hopeful about in the coming year? I'll start. I'm hopeful for my UNC football team. I don't really
If
care
you
about.
start coming in here with your sleeves cut off.
You're going to change the dress code. Just
Mhm.
now, I'm not a big college football fan. I mean, I'm interested to see what happens to basketball now that it's not the top billing at Carolina anymore. But I
Oh,
digress.
it'll always be the top.
That's what I think, right? I mean, yeah. But anyway, I guess as far as politics are concerned, we'll have to wait and see. I don't really have an opinion either way. What are you excited for in the coming year, Sam?
I was about to say there's two different things. For excited, I'm always excited for something new. But when I hear hopeful, I'm like, I don't know. I try not to get my hopes up too high for any coming year.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
If I get my hopes up too high, then I get disappointed easily. You keep your
Oh.
hopes low, you don't get as disappointed.
We were talking about Gen Z earlier.
And
I actually hear that a lot,
yeah.
that y'all,
You keep your expectations
But think
low, and then
about it.
you're
What have they been
pleasantly
through? I mean,
surprised.
That's kind of sad.
COVID was kind of at a big time in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, they've been through a lot that at a certain age that might make you kind of wary of getting.
Getting
That's
too
just
hopeful.
wild when you
too
think about
excited.
and we're going to get into a huge philosophical discussion, but
But I'll say the thing I'm most excited for is that I'm getting the opportunity to go to Oahu, Hawaii.
nice.
Yeah.
My dad's going there for work, and me and my mom both said, hey, we're going to come join you because it's an opportunity that we probably won't ever get again.
Is work paying for it? His
Yes,
work?
it is.
Nice.
Not
That's
for
awesome.
me and my mom's portion of the trip. We got to pay for that ourselves, but pays for the hotel and our food for the most part.
Wow. Nice. Can the Scenic Convention be in
No.
Yeah, it was a
Oahu.
good shot, John.
Enjoy
It was a good shot.
enjoy that Greensboro convention, John, because that's where it's going to be.
What are you hopeful for?
I
Susan?
am hopeful for.
a third grandbaby.
In,
Oh, she's shaking her head. No.
More than 1 year for that.
We'll wait and see how things shake out with our country before we talk about more babies in the Beasley family. And that's not my decision, obviously, but
Yeah.
yeah, the kids they're cool with waiting a little bit to see. So, but yeah, I would be tickled if there was another grandbaby. But I'm hopeful for new relationships, new friends at the legislature. We got a new General Assembly coming in. I'm hopeful that we walk out of the long session with, some good things. And maybe we'll have a little bit of an opportunity to make some good policy since the supermajority in the House, at any rate, is
Yeah.
broken by one. So, I'm just, hopeful for good things to come out of our session.
You made us all look bad in front of our boss saying something scenic. Really.
Oh, I'm sitting here
Ah,
also wonder. I mean, I'm hopeful, and it might be more prayerful. that,
Maybe that's the word, yeah.
that the division in
Mhm.
this country that never, ever, ever, ever,
Yeah.
ever dreamed we would see. I don't think it's going to go away by waving a wand, but I am hopeful or prayerful that we can find a way together to somehow get through it, because it seems dangerously close to getting beyond repair.
all right. Well, everyone enjoy your New Year's, and we'll see you in 2025.
Wait, no. We can't, not so fast.
Oh, no. What?
Let's have a resolution from you, John. What's your resolution for 2025?
My resolution for like the last, since 2006, like 18 years, has been to lose weight. Back when I was skinny, and now I'm not.
Well, GLP-1s.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's probably my never-ending resolution.
That's a very compliment.
What about you, Sam? What's your resolution?
Me and my friend kind of have a resolution together to try a bunch of different kind of activities, whether it like active activities, because I'm really into gymnastics. Maybe trying like kickboxing and Pilates classes and doing a bunch of those kinds of classes get me into something besides just gymnastics.
My nephew is doing jujitsu now.
Ooh.
And
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
yeah. So
I'm scared I'd die.
I'm
There's a
excited.
lot of throwing people to the ground in that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why, like, kickboxing, I'm just kind of kicking the bag and punching
Yeah.
the bag, and there's not another
could do
person
MMA.
involved.
MMA.
Ooh. Scared me when I was in 3rd grade. Scares me now.
What about you?
I have the same resolution as Sam. I do. It sounded good. It felt good for a minute. Then my body said, girl, sit down. I generally don't make resolutions because I just feel like you're setting yourself up for
Yeah.
for failure. And I do take that. I mean, if I make a promise to myself, then I hurt my own feelings if I break it. But my girlfriends and I, we choose a word, kind of wait and see what kind of word just in our conversations calls to us that we'll kind of use to guide us through the next year, and a color.
I feel like you're more of a vision board girly rather than a resolution.
It is. Can be a lot of different things in a.
So what's the
A
word
year's
and color
time.
this year?
I don't know. Yellow is my color.
Okay.
Yellow's calling to me. It was green
Sunshine.
this past year. So, yeah, it's bright and sunny and not dark.
Mhm.
Hopeful.
Hopeful. But I don't have a word yet. That'll come to me. But anyway, that's just me.
Ardis, what's your resolution?
You know, here I am, the one bringing it up, and I haven't thought about this. I'm like you, Suzanne. I generally don't make them because I break them. But I think if I had to resolve to do anything, it would be to worry less, because worrying isn't going to change anything.
Yes.
But we'll see how that goes.
The only
I
thing
mean,
worrying
we're-
changes is your attitude.
Well, my attitude stays pretty bad. So, yeah. Been a lot of worry.
That's something my therapist told me.
On that note,
Happy New Year.
So be happy.
Yeah.
Stop worrying.
Well, seriously, I mean, you can, instead of saying, okay, I'm really worried, like I'm worried about the division we just talked
Right.
about. I'm very
Right.
worried about that. I'm worried as a citizen, but I'm worried as a grandmother, a mother.
Right. Things that would directly affect you.
And I'm very worried as the executive director of an association that represents the interests of workers, because I just feel like it's getting harder and harder
It
for
is.
working people in this country. And I don't see anything changing that. But worrying about that doesn't change it.
Mhm.
So taking that worry, setting that aside, maybe going to kickbox or something.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Some release of
Some release. And then so we can get back to the drawing board so we can all continue to stay in whatever I hate to use the word fight, but I mean, it's what we've always said when we were talking about trying to make policy change that's
Yeah.
good. And I kind of want to move away from as much of that language, but at the same time, unfortunately, it's a damn fight.
Yeah.
It's a fight
the
to
time.
do anything to help working people.
It is.
But we got to engage more people in that fight. So that part is a positive,
Yep.
to look at it from a positive standpoint. And we have to do an even better job of making our case about why they should care. So communications, you're going to have a fun year.
oh, great.
Woo.
We're in it with you, John. We're in it with you.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a Bible verse, Matthew 6:34. It's, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself.
Ooh, I like that.
Amen.
Bring church.
All right.
Hey, watch Hamilton. Listen to what Aaron Burr says. I am the one thing in life I can control.
That's right.
Worry about nothing else.
And then he shot somebody in the face.
Yeah. Don't listen.
I don't know if it was the face or not.
That's my man
It
right
sounded
there.
like
No, it was the chest.
that.
We'll
We're
cut
loop-
that out.
We're loopy at the end of the year.
We're loopy at the end of the day. This is why we
Yeah.
record in the mornings.
So thank you for joining us for 32 episodes this year. And we'll look forward to reaching out to you in the new year, probably next week. Bye, everyone.